Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Dan Bennett, coming out of Fort Worth, Texas. And his expertise is all things video and storytelling with a dash of hot sauce. So I'm really happy to have him on. He uses professional video production for film and TV, working with corporations, government, and I'm really happy to have him on. Dan, welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive into the questions.
For sure. Yeah, I have a little bit of background in film and television, a lot of corporate, a lot of government contracting. And back in 2017, I found myself very unfulfilled. And also, I'm originally from Flint, Michigan, not a huge economy there. So I found a lot of people around me couldn't afford my services, and I wanted to help them somehow. So as I came from behind the camera to in front of it for my own content development, I realized that my filmmaking knowledge made that transition really easy. And I wanted to start sharing some of that knowledge and tools with other people so they could look good on camera for themselves too. So that's where it all began.
Interesting. And diving into the questions, is this podcast is for businesses to showcase and kind of market. What is your client avatar? Who comes to work with you? What are they running away from, running towards? What are they fed up with? What are they trying to achieve when working with you?
A lot of times the word fear comes up, even if they don't say it themselves. Might be fear of putting yourself out there, fear of a brand new skill set and a learning curve, fear of maybe sharing all your best ideas and you don't think anyone will buy from you afterwards. A lot of different forms that fear takes. And most people we work with are filming themselves. So we work with really remarkable people. And then our job, even though we help with home studio builds and we help with strategy and we also help with editing if they need that, really the work that we do is helping entrepreneurs and professionals give themselves permission to be great on camera. So we try and make that transition as smooth as possible so they're not uncomfortable the whole time. But we also keep it real, and it's a difficult thing to do, creating great video content. We're there in a consultative form as well as kind of a armchair therapist, just helping them human their way through sharing their expertise.
Interesting. So one thing we talk about is, so where should thought leaders, consultants, public speakers, businesses, how should they be viewing video, both content production, editing? Where should they be? What software? Talk about that.
Yeah, some of the technical aspects. Our whole business is built around storytelling that never goes away in any kind of sales or marketing or business transaction in general. So we're hyper aware of that. And even though storytelling, with air quotes, is not what we help people do per se, it's always at the forefront of the communications that we have with people. And so oftentimes people might look at video as a way to get leads or a way to grow an audience or a way to grow awareness and tell that story. And all those things are true. But what we've found is over the last 7 to 8 years of really honing in on people who film themselves and put out their own content is video helps you build trust faster than almost every other medium. And so it's not just about likes and views and virality. It's also about someone being able to get to know you and get to trust you, sometimes before they ever meet you in real life, because they've absorbed your content. So I think that's a really powerful way for people to think about content beyond just hearts and likes and thumbs up.
Yeah. So the next question I have for you is, so, video, what about if, for example, a lot of the audience and viewers and listeners are a little bit old school, they're doctors, lawyer, dentist, accountant, they write, they blog, they have newsletters, they're on Twitter, LinkedIn. So writing is a predominant form of content. How should they be viewing video? Should they just discard it altogether, or how should they incorporate it into their existing content?
It's definitely something that I never try to convince someone to do. The worst fits we've ever had as a business is when we convince someone that video is important, because they're generally going in kicking and screaming and a little reluctant. But if it's been something you've noticed your competitors are doing, the landscape is offering up a lot of video, and you're thinking maybe you might want to add that to your repertoire, I think it goes hand in hand with writing. And actually, one of our big kind of hacks, I hate that word, but it's been discovered that way, is when we write our own scripts for my company, we actually dictate those scripts. We speech to text our scripts, and then we fine tune them and polish them afterwards. And I've found that a lot of people who are experts in any field, especially if they're good at writing already, can just speak what they want to say and then use those writing skills to hone that script. And then you end up with something that is ridiculously versatile afterwards. Also, there's a much lower barrier to entry to create high quality video nowadays than there was even just 5 years ago. So I think it's something that you can do with not a lot of investment and a little experimentation to see if you can get some extra traction. And this is a subjective part of the answer, but I love when a blog has a video. I love when I can read something and also get 2 minutes of what was the author thinking? What was driving them to write this? What little tidbit can they share with me where I can see their face and get to know them a little bit? So I think that's where video comes in. And I don't think it has to be all or nothing. I think you can dip your toe in the water a little bit with some of the equipment you might already have, or with a couple inexpensive purchases.
Interesting. And along those lines, what should the audience be focusing on? Should they just be like, because you mentioned tidbits, should it be like 1 to 2 minute clips, or should it be like 20-minute podcasts? What form of content is the best?
Yeah, I hate this answer, but it depends, of course, right? Like what they're trying to accomplish with the video content. We do long form on YouTube because a lot of what we do is educational. We're helping people learn how to look and sound better on camera. We also have courses and those sorts of things. So you film those a little differently. Sometimes they're behind a paywall. But what really does a great job of helping people trust us quickly, get to know us, and of course, see all of our case studies and all of our testimonials are those videos that are like 45 seconds to 2 minutes long. And we're able to do a month's worth of those in a weekend. So if you got the right tools, a little bit of guidance, and you really know your stuff, you can put out a lot of short form content without trying to, win over the whole world. You can just start where you're at, sharing your expertise, knowledge, and your insights and your opinions, and get a lot done without really having to try too hard.
Interesting. A follow-up question I have for you is because in this day and age, what video setup should it just be just like, just hold up an iPhone and just record whatever comes off the top of my head and post it? Or should it be like professionally edited with an editor and like an intro, outro, and what works best?
It's another one of those. It's a spectrum, and there's two ends, of course. But part of what we do is help people build at-home studios or in-office studios. And where we begin with that is not overkill. It's not super fancy or crazy, but we do substitute either a laptop, a webcam, or a smartphone with a low-level DSLR. And instantaneously, you look and sound, if you got the right mic setup as well, you look and sound incredible. So even if you're only using that like I am now on a call or as a podcast guest or on a sales call or even just a networking call, it really makes a deep psychological and kind of subconscious impact on someone. When you look and sound good, they can already start to feel like, wow, this is high quality. If I work with them, I bet they'll treat me like my product, or like me as their client matters, and their product is taken care of with the same sort of professionalism. So I start there. And that's not to say that if all you got is a smartphone and a decent mic, you shouldn't start there. Of course, use what you got. But it really doesn't take too much nowadays to kind of level up to where just a couple lights, a mic, and a camera, and all of a sudden you're really increasing the quality so much. And then it's just something you sit down in front of and go. You don't have to become a producer or a director of video, but you really can just start recording yourself, and it doesn't have to be too fancy. And then, of course, you can go up from there. So we offer on the other end editing services. Some of our clients over on that end have 1 to 5 million subscribers on YouTube. They pump out videos every week. It's part of their business and revenue to be consistent with video and to, hold attention really well. So we approach some of those edits a little differently than a financial advisor who just wants to share some news each week and keep people that are in his sphere up to date. A lot less editing, just cutting out the parts and the flubs and the looking away occasionally, whatever. Keep it really simple, and people really dive into that work too. So it can go both ways, but I would never let the quality stop you from at least experimenting or trying.
Interesting. Another question I have is what platforms or mediums should entrepreneurs, audience, which ones work best? For example, the professional, executive, high income types, which platforms work best for video?
I'm sure you've tested a lot of them. We're on Streamyard right now, which is one of those platforms where you can record and you can get the best quality out of each person's setup and computer. We use Riverside. I am totally like brand agnostic. I just happen to be an ambassador of theirs and we're sponsored by them and I've been using them for years. So they're one of the ones that I use. But there's a lot of platforms where you can record right inside the software. And I think that's great. The 1-2 punch of being able to just open a browser, record, and you don't even have to edit it right then. You can walk away. You got a great idea, want to share a tidbit about your expertise, talk for 90 seconds, hit stop and go away. Maybe you come back and edit it a little bit. Maybe a team member does. But then using that same exact setup to sit down in front of for your next sales call or your next consultation, and you still look and sound just as good because you're using it for your calls. That 1-2 kind of hybrid punch we help people with of creating content and also looking good when they're just on calls or just on a webinar or a podcast guest, I think is great for that executive level. And we do it in a way that we try and make the footprint really small and you can just have stuff bolted to your desk and lightweight. And there's some equipment involved, of course, but we've really got it dialed to a point to where you can just sit down and do work, or you can move just a couple things slightly and you can go to call or you can go and create content. I like Riverside. I like StreamYard. There's a lot of them out there. Squadcast, there's Descript. There's a lot. Feel free to test them out. Ask your friends if they're using anything because they're all pretty similar to each other. And I think that's a great way to start. We can just open a browser, start recording, and your idea is now at least captured.
Interesting. The next question I have for you is, in this day and age of the kind of like the mega influencer, the Joe Rogan or these big, how should independent thought leaders and consultants and coaches be viewing their social media platforms? Because obviously a lot of emphasis on likes and followers and downloads and listens, but a lot of us can't get to that 1 million, 2 million, 5 million mark. So how should people be viewing these as video content creators?
I'm definitely contrarian in a lot of these spaces. So I say ignore all of it. Now it's hard to do that, of course. I run across guru type content all the time. And sometimes it's interesting and I don't want to partake. But for the most part, I ignore that because even if you have recognition, expertise, a full team, all the equipment, everything you need, but all you go and do is replicate some large creator, you're not going to get the results they get. And even if you did amazing, which is not going to be the case, you'd still only be number 2 to them because you're essentially replicating what you're seeing. So we try and go really hard in the other direction. Internally, me and my team call it body of work. And that's just to look at what someone knows, what they've done in their career, their accomplishments, their expertise, things they're interested in outside of the business that they run or help with also come into play. And if you think of like a pile of content, one in each hand, and then you think of like a battery on top of each pile and a clock on top of each battery, you've got all this content and then you've got time and energy to put into distributing it. One way, and it's the way most of us see, if you just Google search, how do I run an online business, is make a ton of content, excuse me, and try to get 10,000 people to like it, and then 1,000 of those to actually interact, and 100 of those to jump on your newsletter, and 10 of those to care, and 4 of those to buy. Nothing wrong with that funnel, but it's not the only way to do things. So what we focused on for the last 8 years is what we call a body of work. We take that content pile, that battery, and that clock on top of it, and we use all that time and energy instead of trying to build this large organic audience that might or might not grow. We try to take all that content and strategically place it in front of people who are already looking for the things that we're talking about. And one prime example of that is YouTube. I believe it's in its infancy. Everyone talks about it, but I still think it's underutilized. I think huge things are going to happen there in the next 10 years where people have their own essentially television network stations they've built within their company. And I don't think it's going to be just one person anymore. I think full teams will all get their faces on camera and they'll build whole suites of content around whatever their business is about. But even where it's at right now, I'm always encouraging people to use it, not to become a air quotes YouTuber, but to leverage the platform. And if someone's there and they're looking for what you got and then they find your video, they're way more apt to lock in. And then if you send them to the next place after that, they're more able to follow the breadcrumbs and get to the big idea that you're sharing. And a perfect example of this that still blows my mind every time it happens is every week we get some comments on some YouTube videos that say something to the effect of, man, this is like perfect timing. I found this. It solved my problem. Thank you so much. I've been trying to find a video that talks about this and yada. And then I look at the timestamp on the video and it's an 18-month-old video. And there's just not another platform on the planet where a 1.5-year-old video is brand new to someone, because no one's going to your LinkedIn and going back 1.5 years and seeing what videos you posted for the most part. So we really focus on, again, what we call body of work, which is take all that time and energy that you're going to put into the distribution of the content and try and only be putting it in places where people already care about what you're talking about, instead of to the masses, hoping a small percentage will go all the way through.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest, with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
And when you target these, are you using like targeted ads? Are you using SEO? Talk about how you're strategically placing in front of people that are ready.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit gray for us, because we don't run people's marketing and we don't run their campaigns. We are hyper aware of where the content we help them create is going to fit. So we definitely take our knowledge and our expertise over years of running our own businesses as well to try to help with that as much as possible. But I think where people get the most leverage working with us is that we know how the platforms behave, and we have to keep up on that stuff, or else we can't serve our clientele very well. And because of that, if they're like, this is what I would like to achieve, we can reverse engineer from there and see where they probably should be playing, or what platforms are leaning in a direction that would really serve that sort of content well. And we really try and focus on 1 or 2 places at the most. And then if there's growth over time and you want to experiment on other platforms, maybe repurposing content or creating it specifically for other platforms. But usually you got to win on one before you can go win on them all. So that body of work, again, is all about having conversations of, where are your people? Where are they looking? Where are they consuming their information? And sometimes it's as simple as putting videos on your own website. And we just got some really interesting information back from Wistia. They did their State of Video 2025 report, and they showed that the third highest performing retention and click-through on video on a website is on the Contact Us page. And I was like, what? So I started digging into it. I went to their webinar, I talked to some of their team, and sure enough, number 1 is courses and video galleries. Of course, you're there because you want to watch videos. Number 2, I don't remember, sorry. And number 3 was contact page. And then me and my team started talking about, why do we think that is? And what we came up with internally was, well, if you're already on a website and you've already went to the Contact Us page, you're leaning in already. You want to know more. You want to see, can I trust this brand or this person? And if there's a video there saying, hey, when you hit that contact button, here's what's going to happen. Here's how it flows. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks for clicking. All of a sudden, you're taking care of them. They're not even your client yet. And that's where you can start to really make an impact through that kind of body of work type placement. So we look at anything inbound really closely, and then we look at outbound as far as like content development on a per platform basis to see what would fit your style and stuff best.
Interesting. And so talking about the future, I know you have something at the top of the hour. So around 4 or 5 minutes, where should people that are hedging and trying to future-proof themselves, where should they be thinking? Should they become YouTubers, or should they become YouTube podcasters, or should they still be is the game still being won on social media, or are TV and radio dead?
To be honest, of course, I've been in the space a long time now, so I haven't been around television, radio, advertising in a long time. I don't absorb it. I don't hear about it. And the people in my large network don't talk about it. So I don't know if it's dead, but I definitely am not hearing about it anywhere near anyone who knows marketing in my circles. I believe YouTube is such a smart play. And the thing I would tell everyone is don't let placing videos on YouTube make you think you have to be a YouTuber. It's not a job. It's a platform. And if you look at it that way, you can really start to leverage it in really creative ways. And then sometimes things take off and the audience guides where you're going because it's, whoa, they're really resonating with this. I got 20 more stories just like that. I might as well really connect with these people who are already showing interest. And the YouTube algorithm next to TikTok is like one of the best placement algorithms out there. So it really does a good job of putting you in front of new people who are like the old people who have already seen your stuff. So I think everyone should be there. Even if you only got your 4 main videos there, there's like a promo and an about me and whatever, but at least someone can get to know you. They can learn from you. And if they're searching for a specific topic, the bonus is they might accidentally come across you. And then you can still guide them back to your big idea or where you'd like them to go next. So I think everyone should be there no matter what your main platform is. And it's not that hard to get started. We help people do it all the time. Second to that, stuff changes every 3 months. So it's hard to say, but LinkedIn has been serving us so well for the last 2 years. And I think it's another kind of slept on platform. I think people who don't use it much or haven't used it much still, last time they heard about it on CNBC, it was like resumes and getting a job. And it's just not only that anymore. It's not even close. And people are really becoming like digital thought leaders quickly there, because if you create great content, you're consistent, you're prolific, you don't have to change the world with some, 6-hour long free course that you give everyone to teach them everything. I just jump on and I give people quick wins every week, and people really respond well to that. And this is stuff I've been doing 16 years, so it's not hard for me to just share stuff. And the last little bit, it wasn't part of your question, but I want to share it because I think it's so important. No one is popular enough to not recycle their ideas and put them out again and again. It's just not happening. No one's going to watch everything you put out every time and then 3 months from now go, hey, you already put out a video on this. No one's going to do it. And I've got all kinds of proof on the back end about that. So that means you can take your main core ideas. Ours are camera presence, how to be great on camera, strategy, where to put a video, what's it going to do for us, what job should it be fulfilling for us once we put it out, and storytelling, because I think it's a little bit of a lost art in video, especially in corporate. That's all we talk about. Camera presence, storytelling, and strategy. It's all we talk about. So that seems limited, but then within each one, hundreds and hundreds of videos spring forth because there's so many different ways and so many analogies and metaphors to use to make the same points over and over again. And no one in the last 8 years has been like, this is getting boring. You keep saying the same stuff. So I would encourage people, if you've done anything for any amount of time and you're good at it, you've got years and years worth of content inside of you. I promise.
Yeah. Last bit of question is, how does AI play into video, and how are you helping clients think about AI and position themselves with AI video?
Yeah, it's getting interesting. Currently, as of today anyway, the actual implementation and editing, it's not there yet. It's not even close. And that's not because I'm against AI. It's just I've been a professional editor for 16 years. It's not even close. But there's so many tools that we're using every week that are part of AI in general that I think we should always be looking at. How can we make it serve us? And so one of the ways that we use is so archaic in nature is ideation expansion. So we'll come up with our ideas. We'll maybe write a script, 5 ways to feel more comfortable in front of the camera. And then I'll be like, hey, ChatGPT, give me 10 more of these. You know me pretty well and you know my products. This is the 5 we came up with. Give us 10 more. And a lot of times within that 10, at least one is, oh, I never thought of that. And I know exactly what I would say to that. And now your video is 6 ways to be comfortable on camera instead of 5. So we like it for ideation expansion. We got a bot that a friend of mine created that will run a script through before it's finalized, just to have it analyze the script and look at different components, make sure it's got good retention value and stuff. A lot of tools like that. And then our subtitles we use every day. So we pop it into Riverside, give it subtitles. The AI is going through and doing all that. We don't have to do it. And I have subtitle ability inside Premiere Pro where we work professionally, and I still use Riverside because it's fast. It looks good. It's clean. It's done. I don't got to sit there and do it myself. So we use AI as all these little worker robots doing small tasks for us on the regular. And then eventually I think it'll get good enough where we can create from scratch and it is believable. That's a little scary, but also I think there's opportunity there to become even more prolific, especially if you know your stuff. And then I think the key, and this is just speculation, will be not just which one of us know how to use it and prompt well and all those things, but which one of us know how to leverage it and still sound human, still put our spin on what's going on so people can trust the human. Then when they meet us in real life, whether it's coffee or a Zoom call or whatever, they'll be like, oh, you're like you are in your videos. It's the real thing. Because I think in the future, a benefit might be how human you seem. And that's one thing I'm sure most of the listeners have, is the ability to jump on camera and be themselves. And that's what corporations are showing week in and week out they wish they could do by using user-generated content and influencers and all this. They're trying to seem human, and we're already human. So let's just capture it.
Excellent. How can people connect with you, find out more about you, and work with you?
Yeah, I try to keep it easy. I bought a URL years ago because I love being a guest on a podcast. And my name is Dan. So it's danhaslinks.com. And then all my buttons to all the different places I'm at are on there. So if you can remember danhaslinks.com, you can find me anywhere.
Excellent. Well, I really enjoyed this conversation, and really, and for the audience, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and expertise. And thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Appreciate any time I can help out a little bit. So thank you for having me.